like I said, you know who's a freaking awesome loan officer? Gregg Pechmann is a freaking awesome loan officer. #1 in our company last year. This guy is on fire. Matter of fact, we're filming this in March, and I believe in February he and his team closed 34 deals. He and his team are made up of 3 originators. That's pretty damn good. Gregg, thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're busy as hell, and I wanted to take some time and interview you, hoping that maybe this will help others, maybe giving you some recognition on why I think you're so freaking awesome and why you should be shared with the public.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you having me on.
No problem. No problem. You want to dive into this?
Let's go. Let's do it.
Let's go. So I know the answer to this one, or at least I know probably 90% of the answer to this one. But I want to hear from your perspective. And this is not bragging or boastful. This is your normal day. This is your normal week. This is your normal month. What makes you stand out from other LOs?
You know, it just comes down to hard work. I mean, we talked about it before. You can set up all the best systems and do everything else. I think it's just the hard work and being consistent. I mean, when I was growing up, my father always used to say there's no substitute for hard work. And I just think, I mean, there's 24 hours in a day, Johnny. So it's just a matter of what you do with them and just being more effective on it. So I get up super early. We all joke about that, right? So, yes. So I'm up sometimes around 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning and stuff. And, I'm putting 2 or 3 hours in before the day starts, so that really helps me stay ahead of the game on that part.
One of the things I want to touch on that you do that I want to say 95% of your competition doesn't do is you're scheduled. You know exactly what's going to happen at what time. You use your calendar. You are a time management crazed fool. Above all else. Now, one of the things that I want to hit on, because I want you obviously to hit on that, but one thing I want you to hit on is the fact that you actually schedule time to sell, you schedule time to follow up, you schedule time to prospect. Will you give me just a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, so first part of the day, I kind of wake up early, just like we were saying before. So I would say probably from 4 o'clock to about 5:30 or so, I'm cleaning up stuff from the day before, catching up, setting up my whole day. Okay. Then I try working out for about a half hour or so. I don't go crazy with it. I don't work out for 2 hours. I do maybe 30 minutes. And I might do that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay. Then I try having breakfast with the family. Sometimes I do, sometimes I can't, depending on the day that's ahead of me. But when I come in the office, the first meeting that I have is with my loan partner, Carla. We sit down for about 20 minutes. We go through everything at that point, the leads, go over, who needs to be touched, what files we're waiting on. And then at that point, we go into sales. So from usually probably, I would say from, we try hitting it from 10 to 12, hitting some sort of sales. Sometimes it's 2 hours. Sometimes it might only be a half hour. And, it really depends on the whole day. It really depends on our schedule and what's going on. And then from that point, obviously we got a little lunch. Either I'm having a lunch with my team or having lunch with a realtor. And then I'm going back then I'm doing, in the afternoon, we usually schedule the mortgage presentations. And that's with sitting down with, clients, going over options with them, locking them in and so forth. So that's kind of the template of the day. Wake up early, do something in the morning, clean it up, work out, get in the office, have a meeting, have sales, and have some more sales in the afternoon. But that's mainly with clients instead of trying to lead generate in the afternoon. Make sense?
It makes all the sense in the world to me. One of the things that I get a kick out of is watching you and following you on Facebook. And it seems every day that you are pre-qualing, approving anywhere from 3 to 5, 3 to 6 deals a day is what I'm seeing. And that's just your personal production. I'm not including the rest of your team. And you're very picky who's on your team. So that's an amazing thing from my perspective to you. There's a lot of people out there that do business, but there's even more people who do busyness, and you truly are in business.
Well, that's the important thing. I mean, in this business, as you know, it's very easy to be chasing your tail all the time. So I think you have to get a handle of it and really schedule like a regular business. I mean, I think I heard the analogy years ago. People who work at Chick-fil-A, you know, the president of Chick-fil-A doesn't come down and serve the chicken sandwiches, you know. So it's very important to put the right team in place. That's taken me some time. That's not easy. We've talked about that before, trying to find the right people on that. So we really got to streamline people right now. And a lot of times, and I think we had this discussion a couple weeks ago, less is more. You know, when you find the right people, you don't need to have all these other people that you think you might have or need to have.
That's great.
So here's a question for you. What technology do you love using that's been provided by Hancock Mortgage Partners?
I like the, you know, I like our CRM system right now. Like Usurper is a new name right now, but I like it because it tells us exactly what we need to do on a daily basis. So that's number one. That really helps us. You know, talking about my schedule, that really helps our schedule. Helps me, helps Carla, who's my loan partner, schedule out who we need to touch, all of our tasks. And, you know, by the end of the day, that stuff is accomplished, you know, so that really keeps us on track. So that's number one. Number two, I love the perpetual machine. I think it's great to really stay in front of leads, stay in front of realtors, to help realtors, you know, as far as try to help them generate more leads and so forth. So those two technology pieces are phenomenal as far as I'm concerned.
Awesome. That's great to hear. What changes are you going to do to increase leads for you, your referral partners, and anyone that does business with you in this next quarter, this next year?
Man, that's a tough question because we're on the upswing right now. I think just being consistent to what we're doing right now, more consistent, you know, it's not about the amount of leads, it's about the conversion, right? It's about conversations that you're having. So I just think in drilling down on that, being more consistent, is kind of what we're looking to do. We can create as many leads as we want, you know, with our system, with our social media team that we have at Hancock. So I could turn up that dial as much as we want, right? It's just a matter of, are we going to be able to handle those leads that come in? So I think we're more focused on the quality than quantity, if that makes sense.
It makes all the sense in the world. And I should have prefaced this, but I do need to let everybody know that Gregg Pechmann is the #1 listing booster lead provider in the country, and that's above and beyond all of the leads that Gregg Pechmann provides across the country in the 8 or 9 states that you're licensed in for any of your referral partners that's purchased money. So congratulations once again on being #1 with listing booster across the country.
Thank you.
All right. Here's one for you. This is almost a Bryant Gumbel moment.
Oh boy.
What do you love most about being a loan officer?
I love being part of growing business. I enjoy that part. I could give you the answer of I love first-time home buyers, and I do. Okay. But what really gets me out of bed in the morning is what can we accomplish? You know, what standards can we go to the next level at? How can I improve my team members? How can I improve? I just think the constant improvement, and it could be loan officers, it could be a different XYZ business. It's the same concept that I would have in any business is how do we take the next step? So being a loan officer is a vehicle for me to get there. And you know, that's the part that I really enjoy. I enjoy the business part.
I agree. I agree with you completely. People ask me what I love to do in my spare time. People ask me where I like to go on vacation. I like work. I love my job. I love my company. I love what I do. So it truly is a matter of record that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I can go home at 8 o'clock at night completely exhausted, but I absolutely love what got me exhausted.
Exactly. You know, and that's the fun part too, because, you know, to look back, I've been doing it 16 years, Johnny, you've been doing it 100 years, right? Is that what he said? That feels like 100. Feels like 100 years sometimes, right? But it's fun. I mean, and the thing is the constant learning part of it. And so, as far as the loan officer stuff, I love the interactions of our team. I love the interactions of building the business. I love the interactions of with the clients and really, you know, building those relationships. But the overall arching theme of it is enjoying the business itself. I really enjoy building the business and taking the next step, you know, and really having really some tough goals to try to meet, which I know we might not meet sometimes. But when you look back, and if you don't build those top goals, then you've come so much more further than having smaller, you know, type of goals, if that makes sense. So.
No, I agree completely. You and I have had this discussion before, and we both lived through what you and I call the crash.
Yeah.
And we both looked at what else is, you know, because at that time the mortgage business wasn't very friendly. It was very much frowned upon. It had a bad name. You and I both had talked about, you know, trying to, did we want to look at other avenues? And I think you and I both have this just so ingrained in our DNA that there's nothing else that we can't do kind of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, it's kind of a joke around here that I tell people. So once you're in the mortgage business, it's kind of like the mafia. You just can't get out. So yeah, you just, you know, you try, but when you get this in your blood, it's in your blood for life, as far as I'm concerned. So.
Agree. This is one that's really important to me, and I want to get this out nationally. You've always been a top performer. You've always been a top earner. You've always been a top closer from the time you got into this business moving forward. So here's my question to you, and this is the giving Gregg Pechmann. Do you have any tips or advice that you would want to give right now to help another loan officer?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing would be to be consistent. It's very easy not to be. It's very, and that's the biggest thing. The people who are the most consistent are going to be the ones who are going to succeed. So that's number one. Number two, I would say get in a relationship with a business partner where they really truly want you to grow. I've been around the block like everybody else has in this business. So you got to align yourselves with the right people internally. If you don't have that, you know, for an example, we can market all day long, right? We can generate business all day long, but if you can't close stuff and you can't impress people, it really doesn't matter, you know? So when you're making a business decision, you really got to lay those chips on the table and figure out who's going to have my back, and not just on the marketing side, but internally and stuff. So that's a big piece. And you know, if you don't have that, you know, then everything else is, you know, kind of crumbles around you. But as a loan officer individually, you got to be consistent. You got to set up a game plan. You got to follow your calendar. And I'm not perfect, but I tell you, but I'm 90% there compared to, say, 6-7 years ago when I wasn't. I just took the day as it came, you know. So really being consistent, time blocking, those are two things personally that you got to handle. On the business aspect, you got to align yourself with the right-minded people.
That's an awesome answer. I appreciate that. I like that a lot. And coming from somebody like myself that has very little detail, I can completely understand and relate to that.
Absolutely.
All right, this one's very self-serving. This is very. I didn't pick this, but this question was picked by your peers.
Oh boy.
So here's one for you. What do you love about working at Hancock Mortgage Partners?
I love the interaction and the close knit type of family. You know, that family word is used a lot around and slung around, but to really have people like yourself and other people on staff who've got your back is huge. I've been at other places where they haven't, you know. So that's more in the general terms. More in the detailed terms is having that relationship with underwriting, closing, people who really want you to succeed. You know, I can call an underwriter up and say, hey, I got a question here. And that file is going to go to that underwriter. That is so unique and different compared to other companies. You don't get that type of relationship. With Hancock, that's the best relationship that I've ever had. at that level, you know? So to have people internally that know the guidelines that can really help you, because, hey, let's face it, we're all busy. You know, do I have time to read 2 hours of guidelines every day? I don't, you know, so sometimes there's a gray area. So to have that friendship in business relationship where you can lean on somebody and get those answers, to me is huge, because that's one of my weaknesses, is that, you know, I'm not going to know every guideline, but I'm going to know what questions to ask. And guidelines change all the time, but to have that type of relationship with our underwriters, Jennifer running the team there, is so unique and so different. I know that for a fact. I've been in many different places. I've been a broker shop, mortgage bank. I've been across the board, and to have that relationship is so different. So,
yeah, that's one that I really appreciate. It's something that I take upon myself personally to make sure that that's the way it is. I think I've told you this before, but I'm going to go back to somebody in this business that taught me a little bit about this business. This person would stand up in front of a crowd of 3,000 or 4,000 loan officers and put his arm around me and say, if you have an issue or a problem, you call Johnny. If Johnny can't get back to you within 2 hours or less, you let me know, because I'll find somebody who can. And that's one of those things that stuck with me forever. There's nobody who's off limits. We're all in this together. Nobody gets out alive. Nobody gets paid if a loan doesn't close. Nobody gets paid for denying loans. You know, it's one of those things where if we don't work together, then you have that us and them mentality. Yeah. And that's something that does not fit in this business. The us and them mentality, the us and them philosophy is not. If not for Gregg Pechmann out in the field busting his butt every day to bring in revenue, the only person who would be here would be Mr. Hancock, because the rest of us would be gone.
Yeah. Now, you know, and that's so huge that you say that. And it's not you saying it. I know you truly believe it, because I've known you for a while now. It's absolutely true. And to have that understanding of, hey, we'll do whatever it takes to make something happen. I mean, I'll just tell a quick story here. We had some people that for you to come up to help me teach a class. You hopped on a plane the next week and we're teaching a class together to, 75 agents. That does not happen at most places. Okay. So to have a senior vice president like yourself come on up and just to do that is huge. So that aspect of it, the internal aspect of it, the closures making things happen when they have to make things happen. And the speed of what we do it internally is so unique and different as well. Thank you. Sure.
What is one obstacle that you've had to overcome as being a top performing LO?
Are you saying when I first started or at this point and across the board?
In the past 17 years, give me something that sticks out in your mind as an obstacle that maybe somebody else is having right now, that maybe somebody listening to this right now can relate to and it can help them, that you've had to overcome as an LO?
I would say when I first started out in the business, it was being so concerned what people thought of me. I think that's a natural thing when you get into sales. It's a confidence thing, especially when you get turned down, and just understanding that, hey, this might sound wrong as it comes out, but I think people are going to understand it. It's a numbers game. Okay. And it's a numbers game of people. And so the amount of people that you touch, there's going to be certain percentages that are going to stick. So to understand that and to finally get that through my head, hey, it's not personal. They got relationships with other people they're friends with. That's okay. You just need to keep on going on and keep on pushing on and doing different things. So I think that's a big thing when you're first starting out. So I'll talk about that aspect and I'll talk about what now some of the obstacles are. When you're starting out that way in sales and you're coming out totally green and nervous about everything, you got a family to support and you got, you're paid a commission, a whole 9 yards that's going through your head. It's a confidence thing. So the best thing to do is just do massive activity when you start. Massive activity. It's like the analogy of the space shuttle, right? Space shuttle spends 90% of its energy, I think, in the first 6 to 9 seconds. So just think about it. That's how you have to think in your business. In the first 3 years, you've got to really forget about balance. Throw that out the window. Okay, it's a season of life, and you have to go through that season. and really focus on how much can I actually do as much as I could possibly do. So when you start out, do a lot of activity, do a lot of stuff, try to be as consistent as you can, and touch as many people as possible. And don't worry about getting turned down. Go on to the next. Now at this point in my stage of career is finding the right people. That has always been tough, and we've talked about it at a corporate level with you guys too. It's just part of the business. It's part of any business, finding the right people. A few years ago, I just hired people just to hire them and put them on the team, and grew the team to like 14, 15 people, and it just got way too much. So the lesson I learned now is less is more. You don't need to have as many people. If you get the right people, that right person could do 3 jobs and do it well and be happy doing it and enjoy doing it, compared to the other people that you just throw warm bodies at it. So you got to be very particular who you bring on the team. I tell people when we bring them on, number 1 quality is integrity. Okay. Loyalty. We talked about that. And then they have to be hungry, humble, and smart. When I say hungry, that means that they have to work hard. They have to be humble. They have to learn how to be coached and want to be coached. And then be smart with people. You can be smart all day long, but if you're not smart with people, it's not going to work. So those are things that I've looked at. I used to do a lot more metrics, and I do the disc profile too, is the same thing. But I just do that as one little metric. But if they don't have that overarching qualities on that, we don't take it. So that's what I had to learn at this stage of the career, and learn it the hard way, like most people have.
Awesome. Thank you. I like that. Did you always want to be a mortgage loan officer? If so, why? If no, what were you pursuing before you became a mortgage loan officer?
Oh, man. Wow. Well, I was 3 years old, and I told my mom that I wanted to be a mortgage loan officer, but no, that's not how it works in this business, right, Johnny?
Not at all. Not at all.
No, we all get thrown in it, and all of a sudden we're in it. So what happened was, after college, like most people out of college, didn't know what I wanted to do, which was, I look back, was kind of a waste of money. So I apologize to my parents. I'll make it up to them. Been trying to make it up to them. So after that, my father was retired. He was in manufacturing, and he's from Germany, so he's very technical. So he's like, why don't you come down to Florida and I'll get you started in business? And I hated the business when I was growing up. I used to work for him over the summers. But I said, okay, let's just do it, because I got nothing else I wanted to do at that point. I was playing ice hockey. I had a chance to go play in Germany and professionally, but I figured I wasn't going to go anywhere after a couple of years. So I was like, I better get serious about life. So I went down there. I did that for about 7 years. Still hated it, but I learned, how hard you have to work. And I knew if, working in that business, if I worked just as hard in that business, or even 50% as hard, because I worked 7 days a week when I had that company. And I knew if I got into the mortgage business and I worked just as hard, or even 50% harder than what other people are doing, I'm going to be very successful. So I started buying some real estate because I wanted to get out of that business. I wanted to see it, buy some rental properties. I bought a duplex. I rented that out. And then I bought my second duplex. And then I met my wife. And then we bought a house and so forth. And then I ran into a guy who got me into mortgages, and we just kind of fell into it. And it's about 16, 17 years ago. And took off. And this is kind of before the boom did well, and then the boom hit. And life was just crazy at that point. So kind of just fell into it like everybody else,
Story of my life. I think we all, that's one of the things I love about that question is nobody that I've ever met, I cannot remember in the past 24 years that I've been doing this, I don't believe I've ever met anybody that said, I knew I wanted to be a loan officer. I knew I wanted to be in the mortgage business from the time I knew what I was going to do. And I never had it. My thing, I've told you this before, the reason I got in the mortgage business was I financed my first house, had such a shitty loan officer, had such a shitty processor, that I went and took a course at the community college to learn what it was that I was going through. And that's how I fell in love with it.
Yeah, I remember I was trying to buy an investment property, and this guy, this was a different guy who got me into the business, obviously, but this guy never returned my phone calls, never like 3 weeks, and the week before closing said that I couldn't qualify for this house. And then I went to somebody else and I qualified with no problem. So I was like, man, this has gotta be a pretty easy business to do well. And if you call people back, let's just start there, make phone calls,
This is one thing I don't know. This is not a scheduled question, but this is a just you and me question because you started out in the manufacturing arena. When I started out, I followed in my father's footsteps, and I started out in the oil and gas business. When I first went into the mortgage business, I was somewhat embarrassed about what I had come from because I didn't feel that I had, that I really earned it or that I deserved it. And I will tell you, after about 2 to 3 years, the work ethic that I learned in that previous business, taking it with me into this business, is what made me a top producer. And I know for a fact it did you. What is your feelings?
Absolutely. I mean, I used to work in a machine shop, when I started the business, and it wasn't like I had this business, had a lot of people working. It was me. So it was me. So I would go in at 4 o'clock in the morning. I would go home at 9 o'clock, and I would work on Saturdays and Sundays. And I was working in Florida, and the machine shop we had was a metal, looked like a metal shed, but a big one, but it was no AC in there. So you're dealing with 115 degrees in there, oil spitting in your eye. I mean, just hot chips burning your skin. And you're doing this for 7 straight years. And so, and just working your ass off. And just by doing that, I knew if I got into business and knowing what I know now, and not even knowing as much as I did when I first got in, I'm like, if I just work just like I did before, there's no stop. So I think it's a great, coming out of college, I was kind of a punk and, thought I knew it all, like most college kids, I guess, that when I was growing up with. So I needed that to get it out of my system, and it sure did. And it really paid off in the mortgage industry. So
awesome. Yep, same thing. All right, this one. I want you to take this from 2 different perspectives. This question I want you to think of where you're giving advice to a first-time home buyer. Okay. And I want you to take this one as a 2-part question as somebody who's maybe in a move up, a move down, buying another property. Just 2 different objectives. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone looking to purchase a home?
For a first-time home buyer?
First-time home buyer.
First-time home buyer, I would say, number 1, get educated as quickly as possible. Don't think that you understand it all, because down deep you don't. So sit down with the loan officer, and what documents do you need? What can I do? What can I do? Or can I not do? Don't move money around. Don't put cash in your deposits. But really, even before that, I would say start working on a budget. What are you going to feel comfortable with? Okay, I can pre-approve you much as higher as you want, but are you going to lose sleep over that? Okay, so figure out what your numbers are, not just what we're going to look at, liabilities, but look at your food, water bill, power bill, everything else, and make sure you buy within your budget. There's so many people who are outstretched themselves, and now they can't even save for the next house or save for their family or anything else. So really, dive in. And a good loan officer can help you with that, by the way. They can sit down with you. We can map it out. I've done that with a lot of first home buyers. I go over their utilities, and I'll say, okay, you got this and this, this. If you're comfortable with that, don't forget about this, this, this over here, because that's going to come in every single month, just like a regular bill. So that's the first thing. Look at the whole budget. Don't just look at what somebody pre-approves you. Make sense?
Yep. And I want to stay on that one real quick for 1 second. Somebody's sitting in front of their loan officer. Somebody's on the phone with their loan officer. They know nothing about this business. They know nothing about this transaction. All they know is they need money to buy the house that they want to buy. If they don't feel comfortable, if they're not getting the answers, if they're not being attended to and explained well enough to, what do?
I would call somebody else. If somebody's not taking care of you and somebody's trying to talk above you, you really need to find somebody else. Lean on some other people who bought houses before in the past and who've had good experience with loan officers. So don't be embarrassed, like, if you don't know anything. I mean, we're not, I say this all the time, Johnny, we should have financial education way early in the school system. I'm talking, we don't even have it in the school system.
No question.
Right? I mean, we should have it growing up all the way through. We have math, right? But why don't you have financial financial education all the way through. What situation you think this country would be in if we had that?
I agree completely. Just to hit on that point, this is one of the things, and I don't know if you watch my videos or not. But one of my videos that really sticks out to me is I really feel that our education system in this country is extremely lacking. I feel that it's really poor in a lot of areas. One of the things that I can tell you that, I in my opinion, our education system, our public education system somewhat failed me because it never taught me how to balance a checkbook. It never taught me how to pay taxes. It didn't teach me what taxes were. It didn't teach me how to fill out a resume. It didn't teach me how to apply for a job, how to interview for a job, how to save money, anything like that. But what does stick out is the all of the high school boys laughing in health class because they taught me how to put a condom on a banana.
Exactly. And, let's throw this one out there. How about compound interest? What if you knew about that at a young age? Compound interest, investing. I mean, what is that? That blows people's minds when they finally figure that out. And it's so simple if you start at a young age.
Agree. One of the things, you hear this all the time, and I think it's mostly the larger investment houses. They have that commercial. If you were 21 years of age and put $10,000 into the market, by the time you hit retirement, that $10,000 will be worth $1 million.
Absolutely, and that's conservative.
Exactly. If they would have taught us that, and then I it's one of those things. I grew up really poor, and but I truly believe if anybody would have known that or understood that, they would have done like I've done and find that money to put in my kid's name so my kid doesn't necessarily have to worry about those things. One of the biggest things in this country is we live from purchase to purchase, what our next purchase is. And again, I think our school systems fail us as far as I'm concerned.
I totally agree with you. I've talked to my dad about that for years. So,
all right. This is my Bryant Gumbel question.
Oh boy.
This is the one that I catch you completely off guard. And I'm able to ask this because I know you, I travel with you, all of those things. Tell me what your two little girls mean to you and what you do with that every single day when you get up to go to work.
They mean the world to me. When I was growing up, like I was saying before, I was a kind of a young punk. You didn't really think about those things, but when you have girls, they mean everything to me. And, to see them grow up to be young ladies now, Annabelle's 15, Francesca's 10 now. And it's, some credit goes to me, but my wife Sharon does. I mean, she deals with them and works with them and schools them. And, to see them, what they're turning out to be is it's unbelievable. So they mean the world to me. I'll do whatever it takes. And I never have let's put it this way. I've never had a lack of motivation. I never feel lack of persistence, I guess is the word I'm looking for, every morning to get up and do the things I need to do. Anytime I feel sluggish or anything else, I think about those two. And it's just, it's one of those things, just adds fuel to the fire, besides want to be successful and helping other people. That is, my girls are the number one. So.
Good. That was definitely a Bryant Gumbel question because I got you off your guard. Damn near teared you up, but I did choke you.
Yeah, let's not try that again, okay?
And to me, this is one of the reasons why I've chosen you, because you're a freaking awesome loan officer. Gregg Pechmann is a freaking awesome loan officer, and I appreciate you every day. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you too, man. Thank you for all you do.
Have a good day.